What if I told you that every lottery ticket you've ever purchased was actually a winner, in a parallel reality where you simply knew how to claim it? Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you think you know about chance, luck, and the nature of reality itself. There exists a secret science, one that the masses will never discover because they're too busy believing in the illusion of external forces controlling their destiny. But you're different. You wouldn't be here if you weren't ready to learn what I've spent decades perfecting: the art of making the unseen seen. In the next few minutes, I'll share with you the exact mental technique that has created more millionaires than any business strategy, investment plan, or stroke of luck in recorded history. Listen carefully, for what I'm about to tell you flies in the face of everything you've been taught about money, manifestation, and the mechanics of reality. The lottery, that game the world calls chance, is nothing more than a perfect mirror reflecting back to you the contents of your own consciousness. You see, most people approach the lottery backwards. They buy a ticket and then hope. They select numbers and then pray. They wait for external forces to smile upon them. But I'm here to tell you something that will revolutionize your understanding. The lottery has already been won by you, in the state of consciousness where you know you are the winner. And I'm about to show you exactly how to live in that state, not occasionally, not sometimes, but as your permanent address in consciousness. Every great fortune that has ever been accumulated, every lottery that has ever been won, every financial miracle that has ever occurred, all of these began in the same place, in the imagination of someone who dared to assume they already possessed what they desired. Now, before we go any further, I must warn you, what you're about to learn will require you to abandon everything you think you know about cause and effect. The world will tell you that you need to work hard, save money, invest wisely, and maybe, just maybe, if you're incredibly lucky, you might become wealthy. But what if I told you that wealth is not something you achieve, but something you accept? You see, consciousness is the only reality. Everything else, your bank account, your lottery tickets, your financial circumstances, these are merely shadows cast by the light of your own awareness. When you truly understand this, when you really grasp the implications of what I'm saying, you'll never look at money the same way again. I have seen men go from poverty to riches overnight, not through external manipulation, but through a simple shift in their state of consciousness. I have witnessed women who couldn't afford their rent become millionaires within months, not through hard work or lucky breaks, but through the application of what I'm about to share with you. The secret lies in understanding this fundamental truth. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. And what you are is determined not by your circumstances, but by your assumptions about yourself. There exists a realm that the mystics have called the imaginal realm. Not imagination as the world understands it, but imagination as the creative power of God operating through you. In this realm, time does not exist as you know it. Past, present, and future are all equally real, all equally accessible. When you close your eyes and assume you have already won the lottery, you are not fantasizing. You are tuning into a parallel track of reality where that victory has already occurred. The question is not whether this reality exists. The question is whether you can sustain your awareness of it long enough for it to harden into fact in this dimension. This is the secret the ancient texts were pointing to when they said, "Whatsoever you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them." I'm about to share with you the specific technique that allows you to access this winning reality at will. But first, let me tell you about Margaret. Margaret was a student of mine, a single mother working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. She came to me with tears in her eyes, saying she had tried everything. Positive thinking, vision boards, endless affirmations. Nothing worked. But in one evening, I taught her what I'm teaching you now. 3 weeks later, she called me sobbing. Not from sadness, but from shock. She had won $2.7 million. But here's what made it truly remarkable. She wasn't surprised. She told me, "Neville, I've been living as a millionaire in my imagination for weeks. This just feels like the natural outcome. And what Margaret did to guarantee her win is exactly what I'm about to teach you. But be warned, this technique is so powerful that once you truly apply it, your old identity will cease to exist. Here's what you must understand. Every lottery drawing that will ever occur already exists in the infinite expanse of possibilities. Every winning combination is already there, waiting. The question is not which numbers will win. The question is which version of you will be there to claim them. This is where most people fail. They try to predict the future instead of selecting it. They attempt to influence external circumstances instead of transforming their internal reality. But you're going to do something entirely different. Tonight, when you lay down to sleep, you're going to do something that will seem impossible to your logical mind, but absolutely natural to your deeper self. You're going to assume, not hope, not wish, not try. You're going to assume that you have already won the lottery. But here's the crucial part that everyone misses. You must assume it as a fact, not as a possibility. You must feel yourself to already be in possession of the winnings. You must experience the reality of being wealthy with such vividness that your nervous system cannot distinguish between the imagined and the real. And here's the part that will shock you. The exact amount you assume you've won will be the exact amount you receive. Let me explain. The subconscious mind, that vast reservoir of creative power within you, thinks in pictures, not in concepts. It doesn't understand a lot of money or enough to be comfortable. It responds to specific detailed imagery filled with sensory richness. One of my most successful students, David, came to me wanting to win the lottery. I asked him, "How much?" He said, "I don't know, just enough to pay my bills." 6 months later, he was still struggling. Then I taught him what I'm teaching you now. I said, "David, tonight when you go to sleep, assume you have won exactly $50 million, not $49 million. Not $51 million. Exactly $50 million. Feel the weight of the lottery check in your hands. See the zeros. Feel the texture of the paper. Experience the reality of having this exact amount." 3 months later, David called me with news that would make any skeptic question the nature of reality itself. He had won exactly $50,347,000. The closest the lottery system could come to his assumed $50 million. But here's what made it truly remarkable. He wasn't excited. He was calm, almost matter of fact. He said, "Neville, I've been living with this money for months. This just feels like the mail finally arrived." This is the power of assumption when properly applied. You don't attract what you want. You become aware of what you already are in a parallel track of reality where your assumption is fact. There's a specific way to construct these assumptions that multiplies their power by 1,000. Most people get this wrong, which is why their manifestations fail. The key to successful assumption lies not in what you imagine, but in how you imagine it. You must construct a scene that implies the wish fulfilled, a scene that could only exist if you had already won the lottery. Don't imagine yourself buying the ticket. Don't visualize the drawing. Don't even picture yourself winning. Instead, construct a scene that takes place after you've already won, after you've already claimed the prize, after the money is already in your account. Imagine yourself in a bank, but not applying for a loan. You're there as a wealthy individual, perhaps transferring $1 million to a charity of your choice. Feel the respect in the bank manager's voice as he asks, "Will this be coming from your main account or one of your investment accounts?" Experience the casual nature of this transaction for you. $1 million being as insignificant as $10 once was. Or perhaps imagine yourself calling a family member to tell them you're buying them a house, not as a grand gesture, but as an effortless expression of your abundance. Hear their tears of joy. Feel your own satisfaction at being able to bless others without any strain on your resources. The scene you choose doesn't matter, but there are 3 critical elements that must be present for this to work. Miss even one of these, and your assumption remains powerless. First, the scene must be short and simple. No elaborate fantasies or lengthy adventures, just one specific moment, lasting no more than a minute when repeated in your imagination. Second, the scene must imply that some time has passed since your lottery win. This bypasses the logical mind's objections about timing and how it will happen. Third, you must experience the scene in first person, through your own eyes, with sensory details so vivid that your body responds as if it were actually happening. But here's where most people fail. Even when they follow the technique correctly, they imagine the scene once or twice, and then return to their old state of consciousness, the state of wanting, hoping, trying to manifest. This creates a contradictory vibration that cancels out their imaginative work. You must learn to live from the wish fulfilled, not for the wish fulfilled. This means that during your daily life, when you think about money, you think as a wealthy person. When you make decisions, you make them from the consciousness of abundance. When challenges arise, you handle them from the perspective of someone who has unlimited resources. This is not pretending. This is not fake it till you make it. This is recognizing that the version of you who has already won the lottery exists right now in a parallel dimension, and you are simply choosing to align your consciousness with that version. Let me tell you about Susan, who mastered this principle so completely that she began winning smaller lotteries almost immediately. As if the universe was preparing her for the big one, Susan learned to walk through her day with the inner knowing that she was already wealthy. She didn't change her external actions dramatically. She still went to work, still paid her bills, but her internal state was that of a millionaire, temporarily playing the role of someone with limited funds. Within 2 months, she won $10,000 on a scratch-off ticket, then $25,000 in a regional lottery, then $100,000 in a state drawing. Each win reinforced her assumption, until finally 8 months after beginning this practice, she won $15 million in the national lottery. But Susan's story illustrates a crucial point that could make or break your success. She didn't win the big prize first because she hadn't yet fully convinced her subconscious mind. And here's how to accelerate that process. When you assume you are already wealthy, when you live in the state of the wish fulfilled, you set in motion what I call the bridge of incidents, the series of events that must unfold to bring your assumption into physical reality. These incidents often appear as coincidence, lucky breaks, or unexpected opportunities, but they are not random. They are the natural result of your transformed state of consciousness, drawing to you the people, circumstances, and events necessary to fulfill your assumption. Understanding this bridge is crucial because many people sabotage their manifestations right when they're about to succeed. I'll show you exactly what to watch for. You might suddenly feel compelled to buy a lottery ticket at a specific store at a specific time. You might have a dream about certain numbers. You might overhear a conversation that gives you insight into when to play. These are not coincidences. They are your deeper self, guided by your assumption, orchestrating the fulfillment of your desire. The key is to follow these impulses without question. Don't analyze them. Don't second-guess them. Your conscious mind doesn't have access to all the information your subconscious is processing. Trust the process. There's one mistake that 90% of people make during this bridge phase that destroys their manifestation completely. I learned this the hard way when I first discovered these principles. The mistake is this: they start to doubt when the bridge incidents begin. They think, this is too good to be true, or I'm just making this up, or this can't really work. This doubt creates a counter-assumption that cancels out their original work. Remember, your assumption is creating your reality. When evidence of that reality begins to appear, don't analyze it, celebrate it. Each small manifestation is proof that your assumption is hardening into fact. Now I must address something that stops most people from succeeding with this method: the question of time. How long must you persist in your assumption before it manifests? The answer may surprise you. Time, as you experience it in your daily life, is not a factor in consciousness. In the imaginal realm, where your assumption exists, your lottery win has already occurred. The time it takes to manifest in this dimension depends entirely on the intensity and consistency of your assumption. I have seen people win within days of beginning this practice. I have also seen people struggle for months, because they couldn't maintain their assumption consistently. The variable is not external circumstances. The variable is the strength of your inner conviction. The secret is to assume your wish fulfilled so completely, so naturally, that you forget you're trying to manifest anything. When your assumption becomes your natural state, when being wealthy feels more real to you than being broke, manifestation happens instantaneously. This is why I always tell my students, persist until your assumption hardens into fact. Don't set time limits. Don't check the calendar. Simply maintain your new state of consciousness as your permanent residence, and watch as the external world rearranges itself to match. Let me share with you the story of Robert, whose persistence in the face of apparent failure led to the most dramatic lottery win I've ever witnessed. Robert came to me after losing his job, facing foreclosure on his home, and feeling completely defeated by life. He had tried every success system, every manifestation technique, every positive thinking program available. Nothing had worked. I taught him the assumption technique exactly as I've taught you. For 6 months, nothing seemed to happen. His external circumstances actually got worse before they got better. But Robert understood the principle I'm teaching you, that manifestation often looks like failure right before it succeeds. On the night before his home was to be foreclosed, Robert called me. He said, "Neville, I know this sounds crazy, but I still feel wealthy inside. Even though I'm about to lose my home, I can't shake the feeling that I'm a millionaire. It's like I'm living 2 realities at once." I told him, "Robert, that feeling is your reality. What you see around you is just the old reality, catching up with your former state of consciousness. Your new reality is already facts. It just hasn't appeared yet." The next morning, Robert bought a lottery ticket, not from desperation, but from that inner knowing that he was already wealthy. That night, he won $47 million. But the most remarkable part of Robert's story isn't the win itself. It's what he said when I congratulated him. He said, "Neville, this doesn't feel like I won the lottery. This feels like the lottery finally caught up with who I've been for months. I've been a millionaire in consciousness so long that this just feels like the natural order of things." This is the power of assumption when properly applied. You don't attract wealth, you recognize wealth. You don't manifest money, you accept money. You don't win the lottery, you claim the lottery winnings that already belong to you in consciousness. Now, let me give you the specific practice that will transform your relationship with money and make lottery winnings not just possible, but inevitable. Every night, as you're falling asleep, construct your scene, that specific moment that implies you have already won the lottery and some time has passed. Live in that scene, feel yourself there. Experience it as reality. But here's the crucial part. Don't just do this once. Repeat the scene over and over as you fall asleep. Let it be the last thing in your consciousness before you drift off. Your subconscious mind is most receptive during this twilight state between waking and sleeping. Upon waking, before you open your eyes, before you think about your day, return to your scene. Live in it again. Feel the reality of your wealth. Then, as you go through your day, randomly return to this feeling. Not the scene necessarily, but the feeling of being the person who has already won. When you pay bills, feel yourself as someone who has unlimited resources temporarily managing small amounts. When you go to work, feel yourself as a millionaire who chooses to work because you enjoy it, not because you need to. As your assumption begins to harden into fact, you'll notice certain signs that your manifestation is approaching. These signs are important because they build your faith and confirm that the process is working. First, you'll begin to feel differently about money. Instead of anxiety or desire, you'll feel a calm knowing about your financial future. Money will stop being an emotional trigger and become simply a tool. Second, you'll start having money-related dreams or synchronicities. You might dream about banks, large sums of money, or financial conversations. You might notice repeated number patterns or find money in unexpected places. Third, and most importantly, you'll lose interest in the how and when of your manifestation. You'll stop checking lottery results obsessively or analyzing which games to play. You'll feel a deep inner peace about your financial future, knowing that your good is already on its way. When you reach this state of knowing, manifestation is not just likely, it's inevitable. This brings me to the final principle that ties everything together, the master key that unlocks unlimited abundance for you. What I've taught you about lottery winnings applies to every area of life. The principle is universal. Consciousness is the only reality. Your assumptions create your experience. Your imagination, when properly directed, becomes your reality. And here's what makes this approach to wealth so powerful. When you win the lottery through the application of these principles, you don't just win money, you win the consciousness of wealth. And that consciousness continues to create abundance in countless ways. The students who truly master this method don't just win once, they become permanent magnets for abundance, because they've learned the secret of consciousness creation. They've discovered that they are not victims of circumstance, but creators of reality. They've realized that wealth is not something external to be obtained, but something internal to be expressed. Once you truly understand that your imagination is the creative power of God operating through you, you'll never feel powerless again. You'll never feel at the mercy of external conditions. You'll know that whatever you can assume to be true about yourself must become true in your experience. This is your invitation to join the ranks of those who have discovered this secret. But I must warn you one final time, this knowledge comes with great responsibility. When you prove to yourself that consciousness creates reality, when you demonstrate that imagination becomes fact, you can never again blame external circumstances for your experience. You will become accountable for every aspect of your life. Your relationships, your health, your finances, your happiness, all of these will be recognized as expressions of your own consciousness. But for those brave enough to accept this responsibility, the rewards are beyond imagination. You will become the author of your own story. You will write your life according to your highest vision. You will experience the joy of conscious creation, of being a collaborator with the infinite power that created the universe. Tonight, when you lay down to sleep, you stand at a crossroads. You can continue living as you always have, hoping that external forces will smile upon you. Or you can begin living from the assumption that you are already everything you wish to be. The choice is yours. But remember, you are not just choosing how to spend tonight. You are choosing how to spend the rest of your life. Choose wisely. Choose boldly. Choose to assume the wish fulfilled. And tomorrow begin living as the wealthy person you have always been in the infinite expanse of consciousness. The lottery awaits not your luck, but your recognition of who you truly are. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your invitation to claim what has always been yours. Remember, every lottery ticket is a winner for someone who knows how to claim it. Will that someone be you?